Channel 5's Keith Murphy, keeping you in touch.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. It took 23 days of negotiation and finally the threat of war, but United Nations inspectors have at last entered the Agriculture Ministry building in Baghdad to begin their search there for evidence of Iraqi weapons of mass destruction. And in Washington, the word from the White House is that this latest crisis involving Iraq has been diffused. In fact, the carrier John F. Kennedy, which had been steaming into position, has now been turned around. Our first report is from ABC's Sheila McVicker in Baghdad.
After nearly 7 hours inside Iraq's Ministry of Agriculture, the United Nations inspection team revealed little of their work.
We started, but there is still work to be done. And so we will have to continue tomorrow.
The inspectors are looking for physical proof that weapons-related documents and perhaps equipment either is or once was in the building. The UN says it has evidence that Iraq's Ministry of Agriculture housed an important administrative center for Iraq's weapons development programs, including its nuclear and ballistic missiles programs. Today, the building and the street in front of it was out of bounds to all but the inspection team. Since the last group of inspectors was forced to abandon their vigil in the building parking lot a week ago, the UN has not been able to closely monitor what might have been taken from the building. That makes the inspectors' work today more difficult.
They are doing what they can do under very bad circumstances. The bad circumstances are not the talks, but the fact that the building has been uncontrolled for a while.
As a way of driving home what is seen here as Iraq's message of successful defiance, the government this afternoon ordered its people into the streets. Tens of thousands paraded past in a kind of public welcome to the UN inspection team, and a reminder that from the official Iraqi point of view, the UN does only the bidding of the U.S. But there was also a pointed message for President Bush. Whatever his citizens' private feelings, Saddam Hussein's control is again strong enough that Iraqis will publicly vow their loyalty and love, even if his actions have taken them to the brink of war. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, Baghdad.
In Washington, White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater conceded today that Saddam Hussein had won a point in keeping Americans off the inspection team that went into the Agriculture Ministry. But he insisted it was a minor point. More from the White House and ABC's Britt Hume.
Despite the president's tough talk on Iraq while campaigning yesterday, it became clear today after this meeting with congressional leaders that they had been summoned for consultation about a crisis that is, for now at least, over.
I didn't get the impression that immediate use of force was contemplated today because of the actions that have been taken by Iraq.
As of now, the ministry is being inspected, and it remains to be seen whether any further action will be necessary to obtain and enforce compliance with the UN resolution.
Presidential spokesman Fitzwater insisted, meanwhile, that Iraq's success in barring American and British inspectors from its agriculture ministry does not set a precedent, and that Americans will be on future inspection teams. On Capitol Hill, Defense Secretary Cheney said the administration remains troubled about what he called a new pattern of behavior by Iraq in defiance of a variety of UN conditions, and said that the use of force to deal with that remains an option. But he, too, made clear that the current emergency is over.
I think it would be fair to say that this is a continuing concern. I would not want to convey a sense of crisis publicly. I think that would be too strong a word to describe it.
The administration thinks Saddam Hussein is continuing to cheat on a wide range of other UN conditions, but they mostly involve continuing disputes with Kuwait and the mistreatment of Iraq's own citizens. The president would like to do something about it, but the hard truth is that nobody wants to start another war just over those issues. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
A sharp reaction today from the Democrats to President Bush's comments yesterday when he talked about foreign policy and the need to trust the man in the White House. Governor Clinton accused President Bush of trying to use foreign policy to save his job. And in Atlanta, Senator Al Gore said, if the Republicans are such whizzes at foreign policy, why is Saddam Hussein proclaiming victory and still in power? In a moment, another vote of no confidence from consumers. Education is on the American agenda, teaching pre-teenagers why school is important in the real world. And the dream team at the Olympics, the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Thompson's Water Seal.
I think I'm going to need some more.
Dear Thompsons, while protecting our deck, we ran out of Thompson's Water Seal.
And so did the local store.
Reluctantly, we finished with another brand.
How do we know it's going to work like Thompson's?
What a mistake. The Thompson side beat it up in the rain.
The other side, nothing.
Thompson's Water Seal has 50% more active ingredients for more waterproofing power.
Even the clerk agreed. Nothing works like Thompson.
Sincerely, Blair and Becky Jones.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Suddenly, vitamins are all over the news.
And 2 out of 3 adults don't get all that's recommended in their diets.
The good news is Total has 100% of 10 essential vitamins.
With all the vitamin news, I'm eating Total.
I used to take aspirin to relieve minor arthritis pain until my doctor told me 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin and is gentler to my stomach. For my pain, I prefer Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
In economic news, consumer confidence continues to drop, even as there was some good news for a change for the smallest of the big 3 car makers, Chrysler. Chrysler, which lost $750 million last year, said it turned things around this spring. It reported a profit of $178 million for the second quarter. Here's our economics editor, Stephen Ogg.
The new Jeep Grand Cherokee is one reason Chrysler profits have been soaring, and others its line of minivans.
You have 2 speakers in the dash, 2 in the doors.
Chrysler makes a lot of money on both vehicles. The Grand Cherokee sells for $25,000 to $30,000, and Chrysler makes about $7,000 to $8,000 on each one of the most profitable vehicles built and sold in the U.S. But while people are buying cars, they're not buying much else.
I don't think that the positive numbers from Chrysler provide very much support to the notion that the economy is recovering.
In fact, 2 surveys out today say consumer confidence is falling once again. The ABC News Money Magazine Index is near its record low, and the Conference Board says consumer confidence plunged during July, wiping out nearly half of all it gained during the spring.
If this low level that we registered in July is more or less continued for another month or so, it foreshadows a prolonged recession.
Analysts say one reason for the drop in confidence is the continued high rate of unemployment. Another may be the political campaign. Analysts say so much of it is focused on the nation's economic problems, that leaves consumers feeling even less secure. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
On Wall Street, investors appear to have ignored the dreary consumer confidence reports. Chrysler was the most active stock today, up 1 5/8. Overall, the Dow Jones Industrials gained nearly 52 points to close at 3334. The trading was heavy. One more note about auto sales. China signed contracts with the big 3 automakers today to buy more than $130 million worth of cars and car parts by the end of the year. Here's a disturbing question for the dinner table. How safe is the food we're eating? Yet another government report today finds major problems with the food supply and warns of the need to overhaul the patchwork of federal inspection systems that is supposed to guarantee its safety. Here's ABC's Bettina Gregory.
Although the U.S. spends $1 billion a year on food inspection, vast quantities of contaminated food still get through the system, posing a threat to public health.
There are over 9,000 people a year who die just of bacterial infections related to food.
And up to 33 million people get sick from eating contaminated food every year. The new report from the General Accounting Office blames the problem on a federal food inspection system that is fragmented, inefficient, and fails to make use of up-to-date scientific methods. The Food and Drug Administration, for example, which is responsible for seafood and most processed food, inspects plants only once every 3 to 5 years. But the Department of Agriculture inspects plants that produce meat or poultry every day. But because agriculture relies on visual inspection instead of lab tests, meat and poultry contaminated with dangerously high levels of bacteria still gets through. Nevertheless, the FDA insists the present system is working.
USDA and FDA have been very effective in designing programs to provide the consumers a safe food supply.
The GAO says the time has come to replace the present food inspection system with a single new agency whose responsibility would be to make sure the food Americans buy is safe to eat. Bettina Gregory, ABC News, Washington.
Elsewhere in your local supermarket, it may soon be a little easier to figure out which products are least harmful to the environment. The Federal Trade Commission released guidelines today that set limits on what manufacturers may and may not say about their products. Effects on the environment. Here's ABC's Ned Potter.
A couple of years ago, supermarket shelves groaned with products that claimed to be biodegradable or environmentally friendly. But those labels disappeared as state governments sued one company after another for misleading consumers.
Increasingly, advertisers were afraid to make any claim because they didn't know what the ground rules were.
Today's guidelines from the Federal Trade Commission are meant to let companies know what claims they can make. For instance, a garbage bag can be degradable only if it is actually likely to dissolve in a landfill where most bags end up. A diaper cannot be compostable if most communities have no composting. Several groups said the guidelines are a good start, but since they are only voluntary, they may do more to protect companies from lawsuits than protect the environment from abuse.
At least these FTC guidelines start the process of flashing a red light against the little green lies that have been polluting our marketplace.
Consumer advocates said the environment will get a little better because people who care about it will at least know they're not being taken by companies that just want to get on the environmental bandwagon. Ned Potter, ABC News, New York.
Rap artist Ice-T says he's asked Time Warner to take the controversial song Cop Killer off future releases of his Body Count album, which has already sold 316,000 copies. The song has generated a lot of negative publicity for both Ice-T and Time Warner, and police groups have called for a boycott. Ice-T says he'll still give away free copies of the song during his concerts to anyone who wants one. In a moment, the South African police, new accusations that they are murdering their prisoners.
Seemed like the rain would never stop. I mean, I could feel the dampness in my bones. For the first time since my doctor said I had a touch of arthritis.
He had some pain, so we called the doctor, and he recommended extra-strength Tylenol.
That's right.
With all the choices for your arthritis pain, well, I was surprised.
Well, the Tylenol worked. The pain cleared up.
A lot sooner than the weather.
Tylenol, arthritis pain relief from the name you trust.
You've been dieting with a very special day in mind, which could mean you're not getting your daily amount of protein, because many foods that provide protein are also high in fat. But not this one. Kellogg's Special K, the only cereal that's fat-free and a good source of protein. So make Special K part of your future plans and get into that dress you've been dying to wear. Kellogg's Special K. Get the protein, lose the fat.
Make me feel so young.
Promise Extra Light Spread. Half the saturated fat and calories of margarine and a taste you'll enjoy with all your heart.
You make me feel so young.
Now Promise Extra Light in sticks. Get Heart Smart.
If your doctor has recommended Metamucil and you like the results, but you don't like those glasses of thick liquid, change to FiberCon. Get the same fiber action in easy-to-swallow tablets. Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
In South Africa, an old accusation is being heard again, this time with new evidence. Nelson Mandela called today for an independent judicial commission to investigate charges that the police routinely kill prisoners in their custody. The charges came from someone with first-hand knowledge. Here's ABC's Don Kladstrup.
It was the case of Simon Ntomkulu, who was found beaten to death 12 hours after he was arrested, that prompted Dr. Jonathan Gluckman to speak out.
He was beaten on the head, he was beaten all over. I looked at this young boy, who could be my son or grandson, and he did nothing. Now he's lying there dead. And I thought, I'm not doing enough to stop it.
Dr. Gluckman is one of South Africa's most prominent pathologists. He's performed hundreds of autopsies for the police and has files on more than 200 prisoners who died in police custody, sometimes of shootings, electric shocks.
But generally, it is simply brutal savagery. With sticks, with batons, with stones, anything.
After having tried to persuade authorities to do something, Gluckman decided, in utter despair, to write to President de Klerk. In the name of humanity, he pleaded, can you do nothing to stop these thugs?
And I said to Mr. de Klerk when I wrote to him, these things are being done in your name and in mine.
When the killings continued, Gluckman decided to go public. But South Africa's chief law officer says suspects in custody often kill themselves.
What should also be remembered, that if you arrest somebody, it's very often a very traumatic experience for that person, which leads to natural death, which sometimes lead to people committing suicide.
Like Armstrong Yasaki, who hanged himself, according to police reports. But Dr. Gluckman says Yasaki was hanged after he was dead, that the autopsy shows the victim died hours earlier of a severe beating.
It tells me, what I've believed for a long time, that the lower echelons of the police are totally out of control.
Authorities promise to investigate, but that is no consolation to the parents of Simon Ntamkulu, who discovered their son's body in a community morgue, who are still waiting for the police to officially notify them their son is dead. Don Cladstrup, ABC News, Johannesburg.
Pope John Paul left the hospital in Rome today, 13 days after surgery to remove a benign intestinal tumor. He's expected to spend the next month or two resting at his summer home south of Rome. When we come back, the American agenda, convincing kids that there's a connection between staying in school and getting a job.
It's nothing serious. It only wakes me up a couple of times a week. It really doesn't affect me. I avoid foods that are fried or spicy. I can deal with it. I just take antacids.
If you have frequent heartburn symptoms like acid indigestion or burning in the chest, talk to your doctor. These may be signs of a serious medical problem. Your doctor has treatment plans that can help.
It's only a heartburn. I should learn to live with it. Right?
Frequent heartburn. Isn't it time you talk to your doctor?
The new Jeep. The world's only 4x4 with a standard driver's side airbag.
In our universe, there is always the unknown, the unpredictable. All we can do is prepare for it.
AT&T is now installing Fast Start. It can detect a cable cut instantly, so 800 calls can get back in minutes instead of hours.
We can send wireless for any occasion, anywhere, but only if our 800 service is up and running. Our 800 service isn't just a phone line, it's a lifeline.
I miss you.
AT&T has the most reliable 800 service, period.
AT&T. Call us.
Nighttime, one of the worst times for pain. Minor arthritis pain, muscle aches, pain that seems to go on. That's why you need Ultra Strength Bengay. With more pain relievers than we've ever had, you can say goodnight to your pain with Ultra Strength Bengay.
For cleaning, shining, and disinfecting, nothing outperforms us in the bathroom. Dow Bathroom Cleaner, starring Scrubbing Bubbles. We work hard so you don't have to.
We've put education on the American agenda again tonight. What may be the toughest challenge facing every teacher? How to keep a student's attention. We all remember the feeling sitting in a classroom day after day, being bombarded by facts and figures, and wondering what on earth does this have to do with anything that's going on in my world? Unless educators come up with real answers, those students may lose interest and drop out, which is why an experiment in Texas is generating so much enthusiasm. Our agenda reporter is Bill Blakemore.
In Fort Worth this summer, they're showing 12-year-olds how the world works.
And then you raise the light up. The angle's going to spread out.
How convention centers rig the lighting for the circus.
Now, the next thing you want to do is check to see how many tickets that they sold.
And count the money.
And then that's where the SP gives it to the SSW Railroad.
How trains and their cargoes are tracked between states. River levels controlled between counties.
Can you find where the Angelina River is?
How houses get designed. And how much computers can do.
We need to break this wall, so we need to come over and select the wall command.
12-year-olds. It might put ideas in their heads, which is just what these adults hope it will do.
I want to zoom into this corner.
He's going to be a businessman.
It is a new program called Vital Link. Every morning for a full week, students arrive in workplaces ranging from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Y'all want to learn about the sound business?
To backstage at the convention center, to the billing center at the Burlington Northern Railroad. The adults in these places take time out to show each kid how they do their jobs.
So there's little seeds planted along the line, and as these kids go back to school this fall and start making selection and courses and things like that, it's given them an opportunity to see what could be in store and some of the things that they'll have an opportunity to learn about.
Vital Link was developed by School Superintendent Donald Roberts.
These kids want somebody to care about them and talk to them and help relate this world to them.
And over here, you have the 1.5 inch equals 1 foot scale.
Although in school, kids this age are told the world requires that they study hard, they have no experience to make them believe it. But a week on the job with a structural engineer can prove the importance of reading and math.
Okay, let's put that car number, IC.
As can a week with a railroad billing agent.
If you get it wrong, then it could mess something up. You know, it could send a different boxcar to a different city when it's supposed to go to this one, and it could wind up costing someone a lot of money.
Pick somebody that you didn't write about yesterday.
To help further in making the connection with schoolwork, teachers are also assigned to each workplace.
And do ask them this. How often is reading required on this job?
They, too, make discoveries about the workplace, which can help their teaching.
And so it's one thing to tell a child in math class you need to learn computers. But if you as the teacher don't know why, then how can you explain to the student why that's important?
Now on the camera, there's a tiny...
This program also helps kids feel why it's important. They get hands-on experience.
Now when you look through here, that's going to be upside down and backwards.
And perhaps most important, the kids see that the adults who run the world are inviting them to join in. It can have a powerful effect on a 12-year-old.
It was just one person that took a little time with me and showed me something that made me want to go pursue a career in architecture. It only takes one teacher, one time, to influence your life's career.
In fact, Fort Worth's whole school system is negotiating a number of new cooperative programs with the community. Some businesses are helping to retrain teachers and put new technology in the classrooms so that the dreams these adults are encouraging have a better chance of being fulfilled. This program is growing fast. 4 businesses last year, 62 now, with plans in the next few years to have a place for every middle school kid. The idea is for it to become understood among all the corporations here that having school kids in from time to time to show them the ropes is just part of what it means to have a business in Fort Worth. The hope is that in this town, when young kids see the circus go by, they'll know lots of learning and many skills make it work, and realize they too can play a part because the adults here have cared enough to ask them to. Bill Blakemore, ABC News, Fort Worth, Texas.
Tomorrow night on the American agenda, whether the accreditation system for hospitals is a guarantee that you'll get good care. In a moment, the Olympic Dream Team. What makes it work?
If you have a light to moderate bladder control problem, Attens protection has never been simpler. No belts, no buttons. The new Attens beltless undergarments stick securely to your underwear. Flexible leg gathers hug your body, forming a specially designed protective cup. Secure protection is easy with new beltless Attens. For a free sample, call 1-800-432-4000. With no belts or buttons, new Attens make secure protection simple.
Look, I'm eating corn on the cob, thanks to Super Poli-Grip in the easy-to-use pump.
Super Poli-Grip holds so tight, many denture wearers can enjoy more of their favorite foods, even corn on the cob. Super Poli-Grip.
I found a safer aspirin. Ecotrin.
For minor arthritis pain, Ecotrin's orange coating makes it safer to your stomach than plain or buffered aspirin.
So I'm not concerned taking even the maximum dose.
The safer aspirin, that's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
You're going to grill it so you can hear it, so you can see it, so you can smell it. It's going to be like the best thing you ever ate in your life. Wait! It's not done. No, it's done.
A1. It's how burgers are done.
Nabisco shredded wheat. It's just good stuff.
Tonight on Nightline, the showdown gripping Pittsburgh. A violent strike paralyzes the city's newspapers, and readers must decide whose side they're on. Tonight.
At the Olympics, a disappointing day for two American swimmers. Janet Evans hadn't lost a 400-meter freestyle race in 6 years. She did so today, coming in second to Dagmar Hasse of Germany. And Matt Biondi, who won 7 medals in 1988, came in 5th today in the 100-meter freestyle. Better news for the U.S. women's 400-meter freestyle relay team. Not only did they win the gold, they set a world record doing it. In basketball, a day off for the Dream Team. After demolishing their first two opponents by a combined total of 101 points, it seems the hype was right. It's not so much whether they'll win, but by how much. ABC's Dick Schaap is in Barcelona.
In one sense, they are the purest Olympians. They're playing for the fun of it. They're not doing it for fame. They're not doing it for money. They already have plenty of both. They're doing it because they love their game. And they love the rare opportunity to play alongside men whose skills match their own.
I can make any pass I want to, and I know that the guy's going to catch it.
They are, beyond argument, the greatest basketball team ever assembled. From Michael Jordan, the best player ever, to Charles Barkley, the brashest, who creates controversy with his attitude and his elbows. To Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, whose skills and rivalry helped transform the game in the 80s into a national and international bonanza. Magic retired a year ago when he found out he was HIV positive, but he is enjoying the Olympic experience so much, despite a sprained knee yesterday, he's thinking about returning to the NBA.
I didn't know it was going to be this much fun playing with the guys and being one of the guys again.
Missed it.
I missed that the most.
Magic and Michael are the most popular members of the Dream Team, but all of them are so visible and so admired, they clearly need the security and privacy of a well-guarded hotel. When they hold a news conference, they are mobbed by the media. When they visit this Olympic village, they are mobbed by their fellow athletes. Their opponents not only want to pose for pictures with them, they want to play against them, against their heroes, no matter how badly they are beaten. Yet the Americans have been criticized for being too good, too rich, too aloof. Charles Barkley says, too bad.
Why don't they just take their ass whipping like people and go home?
Barkley makes his teammates laugh and wince. Dick Schaap, ABC News, Barcelona.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Sam Donaldson. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tonight begins a week of all-star firsts and favorites. Yes! Featuring the first ever episodes of America's foremost comedies. Plus, our stars share their favorite episodes of your favorite shows.
The Wonder Years. Doogie Howser, MD. Family Matters. Coach!
Oh, the smell of testosterone.
All-star
Can you find the drug pusher in this picture? It's hard to believe kids this young are at risk because someone their age may be offering them drugs. Someone they think is their friend. Talk to your kids about drugs. Tell them that anyone who offers them drugs is not a friend.
Channel 5 and Sharp's non-alcoholic brew want to test your knowledge of Cheers. Play Cheers Trivia each weeknight on Channel 5. During Channel 5 news at 5 and 10, watch for the question. Then watch Cheers at 6:30 or 10:30 for the answer. Write your name and address on an official entry form or postcard and send it to this address. You could win Cheers.